Hey everybody, I'm going through most successful startups of the last decade, and we're going to be thinking how we would frame their success in a way that is compelling and in a way that gives us insight into what's really happening, what are the real fundamentals. There's a lot of ways to frame ideas, but I want to frame them in a particular way, which is, I think, the most useful and the most proven, which is splitting the category, which is taking whatever business you're running, you take a category that you want to fit it in, and you find a way to make something compelling where you're splitting the category in half, where you are the only one on one side of that. So let's go through. It sounds a bit abstract, but let's go through and let's look at things. So we're going to be keeping it super casual, just kind of chatting here as I have ideas and try to develop this out. So, Snowflake, I have no idea what Snowflake is. So I'm going to go ahead and skip that one. Let me just resize here. I don't understand this company at all. Snowflake, I don't know what that is, so I'm going to skip that. DoorDash, obviously I know DoorDash. So why is DoorDash so successful from a category perspective? So the way I see it is they are the only delivery app that has a huge amount of choices. So normally if you want delivery, you pick your restaurant and if there is a delivery app, it might be like an app for one restaurant. So you pick your restaurant, you download your app, and then you can order from that restaurant. But this is saying, hey, this is the food delivery app, which you're familiar with. Let's see if I can get that stupid resolve ad out of here. Unbelievable. Here we go. So DoorDash. Okay. Yeah. So that's what they are. They split the category and they split it by being the multiple restaurant delivery app. So we're a delivery app. We're a food delivery app with tons of choices. That sounds pretty compelling to me. That ethos, that philosophy is why they're successful. Zoom, I'm super familiar with. I was super impressed with Zoom right from the start. And then they got more complicated, which went against their ethos, but now I actually use them. So, the fact that you don't need a specific Zoom account, if you're using Teams or you're using Google Meets, like they have to have those accounts. Zoom was really the one that came along and said, we're going to make it super simple. And that was back when the video conferencing was really complicated. Skype was super complicated. I don't even know how to use it. I never really figured out how to use it properly. So that was their whole thing. And a lot of tech companies did this in this sort of era from like the 2015 to like 2020. Like that. Those kind of interesting years. I know Monday.com kind of really emerged during those years as well. Slack really emerged during those years. And all three of those companies took existing categories and their main differentiator, their dividing line that split the category in half, was making it easy to use. And that's it. You know what video conferencing is? We're video conferencing that's super easy to use. Simple as that. I don't know beyond me. I know what they are, but I don't understand them as a business at all. Robinhood, I'm not familiar with. Palantir, not really familiar with. Stripe, generally familiar with. I don't know how much I don't know them super well, like what their real benefit was. I know as a user, I found them the easiest credit card processing company to work with. They were extremely user friendly. So probably that was a similar thing. You know what credit card processing is? We make it super simple for you to get approved and get set up and start taking payments. At least for small businesses, that was probably what it was. Um, but I don't know them enough to really nail that down. Now, SpaceX is super interesting. SpaceX is one of those brands with multiple products. So you got to be a little careful here. Because the way a brand succeeds is different than a way a product succeeds. They're obviously related, but a company's not going to succeed without successful products. But the brand, when you talk about how you market a brand, a whole company, you got to figure out how to split the category of a brand. So like SpaceX, to me, one way to explain it is they are the only investment vehicle that has a mission of going to Mars. And that's super compelling as an investor. Like, if you just want to make money, I don't know if SpaceX is a good investment or not. I have no idea. But if you're like, man, I got some money. I don't really care about money. I don't know what to do with it. I don't want to do something stupid with it. But like, there's got to be more to life than my money. I mean, this is a really interesting, compelling thing to be. So as an investment vehicle, that's how I see it. Now, as a set of products, I have no idea, enough about each product, each thing they do with NASA, for example. I don't know. Now, their Starlink, that's pretty obvious. It's the only internet. It's the only, it's a weird way to put it because it's not technically correct, but it's the only, you could look at it as it's the only satellite internet that's fast, even though I know it's not technically a satellite. But it's the only satellite internet that's fast is maybe one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is it's the only internet you can get and use anywhere, no matter what happens. That's probably the better way to frame it. And the reason it's better is because there's a bigger market. Not that many people in the market for satellite internet. Probably the ones that would be interested in a satellite internet that's actually fast. But everyone's interested in internet. And if you say, listen, we're the only internet that can work anywhere, no matter what happens. Or you could say anywhere, no matter if you have electricity, lines break, or any other connectivity issues, it's going to work. So that is a really compelling product that SpaceX launched. Uber. This one's an obvious one. It's the only taxi service. I know it's not technically taxi service, but this is how it's seen. This is the category. It's the only taxi service that's cheap and app accessible. I actually don't know Uber that well because I've never really used it, and I'm not from a place that it works in. But that's my understanding of it. Cashless payment system, user-friendly app. Maybe a better way to put it is it's the only taxi service you will actually like using. Or the only taxi booking app you will actually like using. Now, obviously, when they write their copy, they're not going to call it a taxi booking app, but this is like the core philosophy. It needs to feel like this established category of a taxi booking app, but you need to enjoy the experience between the booking, the payment, and the actual experience in the vehicle, how it picks you up, the price, all of that. So now when you write the copy, you come up with creative ways that express that to feel right, which is another process. but that's the core philosophy. Airbnb, you know, everyone knows what a hotel is. So here you say it's the only hotel see, here's what's very interesting, because you have two markets. You have the customer and you have the host. So for the host, I think you could say it's the only side hustle. Here in the beginning, this is what it was, is it's the only side hustle you can do with just a spare room. That's pretty compelling. You know, the only side income, the only passive income opportunity where all you need is a spare room. Now, for the customer, it's like the only lodging that puts you in other people's homes. Now, that was in the beginning. That's why what Airbnb has changed so much. Because in the beginning, I didn't like the idea of Airbnb because I don't want to be in someone else's home. But a lot of people, that was very appealing. It's like a way to travel, be in other people's homes. Now, as it evolved, it became different. It became the only short-term rental with a built-in market. That's for the host. And for the customer, it became the only lodging option with an entire home available, or with a home available, like an apartment. The only short-term lodging option with an apartment or a room. So it has kind of evolved over time what it is. Now they also have unique accommodations. And see, because now the market has evolved. So now that's no longer true, because now Booking has, individual apartments and things available, and a lot of other competitors as well. And so now they're more like, the only private lodging app, private short-term lodging app, because it's different than a hotel. It's a different category. You want private short-term lodging app with high-end experiences. That's what it is. Because you can go to Booking, you can go to these other places, but they're the only ones with the high-end experiences. Now that's their marketing, that's their perception. It might not technically be true, but that's what their philosophy is. Right. Yeah, so there you go.